Good evening. This is the regular joint meeting of the Oakley City Council acting as a successor agency, acting as a successor agency to the Oakley Redevelopment Agency and Oakley Public Finance Authority. This meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. Roll call. Councilmember Fuller.
Here.
Councilmember Meadows.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Vice Mayor Henderson.
Here.
And I am Mayor Shaw. I am present. And we are going to move right along to item 1.2, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask Stephanie. Sorry about that. So Stephanie Ordonez Reyes and Lucas Fenn. And while they're on their way up, I'm going to read a little bit about them. Stephanie is an avid reader who is currently gobbling up 500 to 700 page book weekly in a newfound series. Loves to paint and sketch, travels the world with her family, and is proud to have recently reclassified from our EL program this year. Lucas is a huge fan of PE and math. When it comes to school, he loves playing basketball and strategy board games, helping others learn and be their best. He is also proud junior Honda champion in quarter midget for driving junior sprint cars.
Put your right hand on your heart. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we are going to move on to item 2, which is public comment. At this time, the public comments will be heard for items not on the agenda. I do have a public speaker card. If you would like to submit a public comment, please complete a blue speaker card located in the lobby and submit it to the city clerk. The time limit to speak is 3 minutes. The time limit is monitored by the timer located in front of my seat. When 1 minute remains on the timer, it will beep once as a reminder to complete your comments before your time expires. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, or other outbursts so that everyone may have an opportunity to be heard. Note that due to provisions of state law, the council may not engage in dialogue regarding comments. Staff may be directed to respond to persons making public comments. Bud Chaddock.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor. I'm coming up here with a couple things. I'm just going to run them off pretty quick. I went to a fish and game meeting on the golden mussels, which are very invasive right now in our river. They've been finding more in Stockton. I just saw a fresh specimen come up, and Bethany Reservoir has them in them now, other areas. And pretty bleak. Their main biologist was saying that this is the worst thing to hit the state. She says they take over miles of shoreline on the East Coast and whatnot. They're going to clog waterways. They're going to clog pipes that do water to cities. They're going to hurt farming communities. She says, I'll put it to you this way, if you had money to put in the stock market, she says I'd be putting it in hydro hoists because it's going to ruin boat engines. So if you leave your boat in the Delta, for instance. There's a lot of lakes that are closing down to this, that are thinking of closing down. And if they do, they're going to do nothing but boat rentals that they rent out that are in their system. So it's going to affect a boating community, if you would, that way. The excrement from these things, she brought it up to me. She goes, it's like 100,000 times more than the average mussel. So if you look at toxins and whatnot, and it also forms more algae, which is our algae bloom that we already have a problem with in the summer months. She said that it's going to cause a big hit on that also. It was very interesting going to this meeting. Also, went to a meeting. Also in the meeting, she was saying things like it's going to eat up all the plankton that the small fish eat, and Lake Havasu right now has nothing but big fish because it can't support smaller fish and the food to feed it. So that's what's going on there. The other thing I was going to talk on briefly is just the housing that's going on, might go on, let's say, on the corner of Mercedes and Laurel. I've seen a lot of accidents there in the last couple of weeks. I know I've been at one of them on Laurel. There's just no attention. I know they patrol on it a bit, and I'm fortunate for that, but it's just chaotic. I saw it backed all the way up to almost the Highway 4 off-ramp a couple of times. And, to me, this is just adding more to a small area that really can't take care of what it has now. 2 lanes is it, I mean, they should have maybe thought of putting this where it was open land for 4 lanes if they were going to make all this growth. But anyways, that's something I wanted to bring up. The mussels are a big deal, really big.
Thank you. All right, I don't have any additional speaker cards on this item, so we're going to close public comment. And I'm going to move into item 3, which is council comments. Do we have any council members that wish to speak? And as a reminder, they will also be limited to 3 minutes. Councilmember Fuller?
Yes, I just want to say I did watch the February 4th Planning Commission meeting, and I just wanted to say I was highly impressed in the manner in which it's done. The speakers were articulate, heard right on point, and they were allowed to speak in a manner that provided them dignity and brought their point across. I was particularly impressed with the President Diego Vieira. If I'm not mistaken, that was his first meeting, during which the electronic equipment wasn't working right, and then the transformer blew out, so we had to go to a generator, and he managed to get through it all and get everybody's comments and close the meeting. So I just wanted to comment on that.
All right, with no other council member comments, we are going to move on to item 4, which is our consent calendar.
4.3, please.
Yes, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.5, 4.6, and 4.8.
Sorry, what was the last one?
4.8.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm having 4.1, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, and 4.8.
I didn't say 4.4.
Okay.
I think I heard 4.6, though.
What?
Did you pull 4.6 as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, let me go over the list again a little bit slower.
Thank you.
4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.5, 4.6, and 4.8.
And Councilmember Williams, you were?
4.3.
Okay, perfect. All right, so do I have a motion for the remainder?
I'll move remainder.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 4.1, Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, I can add, work 4.1 and 4.2 together if I'm allowed to do so, if it's okay with everybody, but it's the same objection I've had before. It's voting no. I just think we can do better in the minutes. I know Ms. Snodgrass is presenting minutes as she was directed and voted upon, but I just do not believe that they're detailed enough for the public to understand what was happening here. So I will vote no on both of those items.
I move for approval of 4.1 and 4.2. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Passes 4-1. Item 4.3.
That is 4.2. Or did we take 4.1 and 4.2 together? Okay.
So I pulled 4.3 because I believe that we should not be watering down the ordinance. So I just wanted to pull it and flag that and vote no, so.
I'm the other one.
I move approval of 4.3.
Wait a minute, I pulled 4.3, and I didn't hear Williams acknowledge, but she jumped right into it. But I did pull 4.3, and I had some comments for it. And that is basically, I think we can do better on this. I just see it as a thinly shrouded, very thinly shrouded as an in run around the will of the people, the intent of the codes, what we are trying to do in terms of car washes here. People don't want car washes anymore. They are emphatic not wanting car washes anymore. They are finished with car washes here, and I was disappointed that this came up and kind of went through, and next thing you know, the idea was here, we were looking at all the code, and then suddenly we were off talking about Neroli and Maine and an ARCO station, and then we moved, and Councilmember Meadows, who really believes this is the economic, or at least the way he's put it, an economic salvation for the city of Oakley, had said, well, okay, we'll keep it the same except for Neroli and Oakley, which it went through. If this one passes, and I think the public needs to know, if this one passes, the ARCO station or anyone at that place will be able to build another car wash. All they need to do is get a conditional use permit, which would go to the Planning Commission. Now, depending on how the Planning Commission voted, any Planning Commission outcome can come to the dais. Bottom line, if it comes to the dais, I think we know what the vote will be, and we will have another car wash in Oakley. And so I'm going to vote no. I think the public is just done with car washes. We can do better.
Councilmember Meadows.
Councilmember Fuller, don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say it's the savior of Oakley. Never said that. I move approval of 4.3. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Passes 3-2. Okay, 4.5.
Yes. If you want me to go ahead.
Yes, please.
Yes, I pulled 4.5. I have been adamant after the first vote of this that I'm disappointed at the way this came about on the park. And it started out with a nice little tribute to Enrico Cinquini, who I was told worked under Chesty Puller in World War II and the Marine Corps. And next thing I know, we were adding another $2 million, and Mr. Memorian was saying, well, it just isn't enough. And now, between 4.5 and 4.6, we are going to spend $6 million on a new park, which will greatly, I don't know how else to say it, would greatly benefit Albert Sino, who is building Stonewood development where the park will be. So he will obviously make his area more marketable. However, I was disappointed with the staff report that said we really need to build our infrastructure and we really need to enhance this. We really need a new park. And I don't know the exact number, but we have over 30 parks in Oakley. So I'm just not, it just, the way it was named, if you want to know, I would name it Bay Miwok Park. Bay Miwok was the first Native Americans to reside in this area, and they, the Sequinis and others did come to colonize it, but they deserve a tribute. So I would name it Bay Miwok Park. It's $6 million, and it's still confusing. The public didn't get a chance to weigh in on it, what was happening with it. I was able, by the skin of my teeth, to get a Public Records Act request in and have seen a diagram of it. It is a lovely park, but it'd be nice if the public could. One of them, for instance, is the same one, and I know that I raised some eyebrows when I said there was antiquated equipment in Creekside, even though there were new items there. And what I was referring to is things like swings and monkey bars and climbing on things and come back, because if you have cerebral palsy, you can't use them. If you have one leg missing, you can't use it. If you're in a wheelchair, you can't use it. And it's a civil right of the family and the child to be able to use all their equipment. And when we put swings in, and sure enough, there's a swing set going into that park. Not only that, swings have become, my understanding, a financial liability to municipalities. They aren't the safest things to go. But if that had come up, I would have commented on it. So I think we could have done better on this one too, gotten the public more involved, got behind it, perhaps even had a complete presentation one evening on where Enrico Cinquini fit within the city for all of us to understand why people are excited. So I will vote no.
Since it's pulled, I do want to comment. I was happy to see it come under what our estimates were going to be. I just wanted that to be put out. We expected it to be a little bit higher, so I was happy to see that we had some really competitive bids. And Councilmember Meadows?
Councilmember Fuller, maybe do some research on Rico Cinquini. He did a lot for Oakley. You wouldn't be sitting here right now if it wasn't for him. I move approval of item 4.5.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Passes 4-1. 4.6, Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, 4.6 is the same one. The first one was $5.6 million for the park, Cinquini Park. The next one is $400,000 for Cinquini Park. And landscaping, and I have the same objection. I do want to recognize that I am appreciative that we recognize cost overruns and change orders to limit $500,000. I know I have talked about how the change orders, especially for R&R construction, have been added in and went beyond the minimum, the next lowest bid to operate. So in this one, we're limiting change orders to an amount of $500,000 and 4.5, and I didn't look at 4.6, but I imagine it's there too. But I do want to say that if we did use on 4.5, $500,000 in change orders, three R&R would jump over three other bids that would be in the lowest bid. There's only a few $1,000s separating those bids in that area. So I have the same idea regarding the park, and I will vote no.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Passes 4-1. Okay, I see item 4.8, Councilmember Fuller.
It's 4.8, right?
Yes.
4.8, I just want to first go and thank Mr. Joshua McMurray, Ms. Danielle Navarro, Mr. Ken Strello, Mr. Kevin Rohani, and Mr. Troy Falk for the report. I believe this report is one of the most professional ones I've seen in the little over 4 years that I've sat here. It was very well put together, very succinct, but very much on point, easy to understand. It is a complicated document, but when I was able to go through it, I do thank Ms. Navarro for very professionally pointing out where I needed to look and where I could find the information. So having said that, I was just very impressed by it. So having said that, I will move approval of this item.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, item 5, public hearings, we have none. Item 6, regular calendar, we have none. And so we will move on to 7.1, city manager.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. For most of my city manager report, I'm going to defer time to the police chief. He's going to give his annual report tonight, which has a lot of valuable, good information for all of you in the public. But would like to note that we do have our January business license list that has been attached to the agenda. And then what we also wanted to do, which is some exciting news, and something that the city authorized us to do last year using some of our ARPA funding, was to redo our website. So our website had been the same for well over a decade, almost 2 decades, to be honest with you, with very little improvement. And part of the focus in spending the ARPA money has really been to increase our transparency, increase how accessible we are, increase how usable our website is. And as we are currently underway with our EERP project and bringing a lot of the what we were using paper and forms for into the digital world now, this will help us do that. So we are going to unveil our new website for the first time tonight. It will go live tomorrow, so the public will be able to use it. But this is just an exciting moment, and just wanted to recognize Danielle Navarro and the team here who spent a lot of work over the last several months to bring this to reality. It's been a lot of work in addition to everything else we got going on, but I think once you see it, it's a dramatic improvement from what we have. So I'll pass it on over to Danielle, who can walk through some of the features of the new website.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members. We're excited to show you the website tonight. I just wanted to show you something that I thought would be of particular interest to you as the council. So if we go to on the home page here, which this is not the URL that will be live tomorrow, it will be www.oakleyca.gov. That will be our new URL. But under your government, you can find the agendas and minutes. If you click on that, it will take you to a page that has all of the council and planning commission agendas and minutes. But of particular interest tonight is the city council page. And on that page, you'll find the meetings, the agendas and minutes with a link, a form to submit public comments, an overview of the city council, and then all of your pictures. And then each of you have a link for more information. And at that link, there's a request a meeting form. So each of you have one on your individual page where people can request a meeting with you directly, and you'll receive that. And then one other thing I wanted to show you on the city council page is that there's a link for people to find their council district. So on that same page, they can go and click on that, and it will take them to our GIS site. And once they're in that site, you can select the different layers, and one of them is city council district boundaries. And then you can put in your address to find your district. So we just thought you would be excited to see that piece tonight, and of course tomorrow with the launch, you'll all have access to the full website.
So with that, it'll be ready for you all to use tomorrow and provide feedback. But for the rest of the report, I would like to welcome Chief Beard up to the podium to give his annual report.
It's an honor to be here to be your police chief, and some of this will be a repeat of last year's information and the year before that. And I do that with a specific purpose of knowing this is a public meeting and some people may be watching this report for the first time from home. So bear with me if some of it sounds familiar. So I'm your police chief, and I've been in the business for 35 years. Lieutenant Robert Roberts is with me tonight. He is the operations commander. He has been in the business for 30 years. Lieutenant Cartwright could not be here tonight, but he has been with us in the business for 25 years. He is our support services commander. The basic mission of Oakley PD is really no different than law enforcement across the country. We are here to enforce the law, protect others from harm, keep peace, restore order, maintain the upper hand on the criminal element, safeguard city interests, and build community relations. This past year, we added a few officers to our department, although not at the same rate as in years prior, but we're at a point where we don't have to do that at quick of a rate. The first officer we hired, it was actually a rehire. Officer Todd Sorrell left our department. He moved to Texas, became an officer in Texas, and decided he wanted to come back to the region, and we quickly rehired him because he performed well for us before, and he's doing a good job for us now. We picked up Officer Gabriel Gans from Pittsburgh PD. We picked up Officer Malik Dunbar from Albany PD. And Officer Alicia Martinez is actually a 2025 hire, but she is with our department now and currently in training and doing well. Currently, Oakley PD has allotted 24 total positions from myself down to the most junior officer. Didn't I just say 42? Oh, I'm sorry. We are way overstaffed right now. We currently have 39 sworn officers. We have 2 recruits in the academy, and we have 1 officer on leave due to an injury and most likely will not be making his way back to us. For reference, during the make sure I don't get this one backwards, okay, 2022 annual report presentation, we only had 25 people to do the operational work of 37 people for a workforce of only 68%. If everything goes well, within a few weeks, we will have 41 officers to do the operational work of 42 sworn officers, and that is an increase moving us from 68% to a 93% occupancy rate. Oakley is winning, the community is winning, the PD is winning, the city is winning. To get here, though, it has taken a lot of work to recruit, hire, train, and retain, most importantly, our officers. Attrition during 2024, we had 2 officers leave due to medical retirements. 1 officer left because of just a regular service retirement. I do anticipate losing 1 officer this year to a retirement. Currently, we're structured to have 3 beats in the patrol division. Beat 1 covers the west portion of the city. Beat 2 covers the east portion of the city. And Beat 3 covers the central portion of the city. Each beat is more or less aligned to have a fairly even number of calls for service within it. The specific calls for service during 2024 was we totaled 19,668 calls for service. Now, in that large number, we had 2,220 calls of priority 1s. That is a emergency call, so that would be a 911 call or a crime in progress or anything that is emergency and happening right now kind of thing. As this presentation goes on, you will notice that our proactivity has raised, and sometimes the proactivity that our officers create for themselves can actually feed into that number, which may be a reason why that number has raised a little bit. A priority 2 call would be a medical and mental health response, something of that nature. We are up 18% in that category. A priority 3 call is a very large number, but that is normal for police work. Most police calls for service are priority 3 in nature. And those are non-urgent exchanges of information from a community member to an officer, and typically it involves taking a cold report or something of that nature. With all that being said, we are down 2% in our total number of calls this year versus last year. The key statistics that I have decided to monitor for the PD and for the community are encompassed on the next 2 slides. They kind of speak for themselves. We are down in homicides, we're down in assaults, we're down in robberies, we are down in petty thefts, and we are down in commercial burglaries, more or less to a pretty good extent. The 2 categories that trouble me are the 2 in the black rectangle, and those are the rapes and the domestic violences. I do know that a couple of the rape cases are cold cases, meaning they were reported late to us from previous years. We're trying to identify why we have this raise of numbers in the domestic violence. If I develop that information, I will be glad to communicate that out to the public to see what we can all do to work together on lowering that number. Our residential burglaries are down. Our auto burglaries are down. I'm sorry, our auto burglaries are up a little bit. Vehicle thefts are down by 17%. That is the statistic that I really hone in on and look at to kind of gauge what's happening in the community. So I'm glad to see that that number is down when other less fortunate communities might be up right now. And some of those vehicle thefts, a total of 6 actually, they fall into the category of being a stolen vehicle when they're actually a non-return of a U-Haul rental van. So some of our stolen vehicle reports are even lower than is reflected on this slide here. Our traffic collisions involving property damage only is down 15%. Our TCs involving injuries, it's actually up. And our fatals are down by 66%. Our DUIs are also down by 14%. When all of that is taken into consideration, the community of Oakley is down 16% across that spectrum of key stats that I track. In 2024, we wrote 2,038 traffic citations. Our traffic unit wrote roughly almost 1,900 of those traffic citations. A difference this past year was we moved our traffic unit to our special operations unit, and we fully staffed that unit, and we put a couple of go-getters in that unit. Our total number of citations for 2023 was only 561, so we have literally increased that production by 263%. You're hoping to find that with more aggressive enforcement that your traffic collision factor goes down. I'm surprised that it wasn't down a little bit more than it is, but our collisions did go down by 7%. So we are trending in a positive way in that respect. Something else that we like to keep track of is how many firearms are we recovering in arrests. We seized 36 firearms during our criminal investigations, and within those 36 firearms seized, 34 people were arrested. Some leaders in that category were Officer Williams with 9 firearms recovered with 9 arrests associated with the firearms. Officer Hernandez with 6 firearms and 6 arrests, and Officer Johnson, who had 5 firearms recovered, but sometimes you can have a situation where you're actually arresting multiple people for the same crime. He actually ended up with 8 arrests for those 5 firearms. So we made a total of 462 arrests in 2024. The department was led by Officer Williams with 73 arrests and Officer Hernandez with 71 arrests. They actually work on the same team, and they become very competitive with one another. This 462 arrests, it includes all bookings and all site release type arrests. For reference, we did end up booking 318 of those 462 into the county jail. Something that is good to talk about right now in regards to arrests is the production of our canine team. Our canine team is comprised of Officer Radcliffe and our dog Harkin. The canine team made 12 separate arrests in patrol, either arrests or give-ups. Those ranged from warrant arrests, stolen vehicle arrests. There was 1 outside assist for a homicide, and there's 1 outside assist for a rape within those 12 arrests to the canine team. We also have 3 officers serving as part-time deputy U.S. Marshals on the U.S. Marshal Pacific Southwest Fugitive Task Force. Their contributions assisted the marshals in that unit to make 81 homicide arrests, 68 robbery arrests, 63 assault arrests, and 97 gang-related arrests. Our guys weren't present for all those arrests, but they were present for some of those. That unit also recovered 100 firearms associated with criminal cases. Our canine team, again, Officer Radcliffe and our dog Harkin, was present for 9 of those arrests and contributed to the actual physical arrest or give-ups in 9 of those cases. we're kind of in a unique position right now with Officer Radcliffe and K-9 Harkin in that they are the only Deputy U.S. Marshal K-9 team north of Los Angeles in the state of California. Having said that, though, our guys, Oakley PD officers, they do not go to assist the marshals if the case is outside of the Bay Area. We only focus on Bay Area type incidents. Our involvement with the U.S. Marshals allows us to access to those specialized services should we ever need them. We only needed a light touch from them last year, but in years prior, we had a few cases where we really could have used those services. In regards to stolen vehicle recoveries, we recovered a total of 125 stolen vehicles. So kind of uniquely, we recovered 3 more than were actually taken from us. 74 of those vehicles were unoccupied. 51 recovered vehicles were associated with arrests. The California Highway Patrol, along with the California State Automobile Association, developed a 10851 award. 10851 is the penal code section that addresses stolen vehicles. And they wanted to recognize and award officers that were excelling in that field of recovering stolen vehicles and making those types of arrests. I don't know why the stat only goes back to 1995, but that's the newest stat I could find. But I will tell you that Lieutenant Roberts and I, we used to really covet this award earlier in our careers. Up until this year, Oakley PD had never had a recipient of this award. This year, we had 3 recipients of that award, and I'm proud of these guys. Officer Hernandez, I'm going to go left to right. Officer Williams finished the year with 16 vehicle recoveries, of which 13 people were arrested in those cases. Officer Hernandez finished the year with 22 vehicle recoveries, of which 15 people were arrested in his cases. And Officer Johnson finished the year with 10 vehicle recoveries. And again, this guy just has a knack for making these multiple arrests. He arrested 12 people associated with 10 of his vehicles. So all 3 of them were recognized by the CHP and the CSAA, and they all received their awards. As a side note, Police Service Assistant Candace Keys actually ended up with 10 vehicle recoveries, but she is in a non-sworn position and not eligible for this award. As we move into our investigations, it was another year of learning and professional development for those investigators. They seem to do that every year. I'm going to highlight 2 out-of-state extraditions, a ICAC operation that we were involved in, and some special partnerships and agreements that we entered into. Early in 24, our detectives filed a case against an Idaho resident for a cold case rape case. That rape case belonged to Oakley, but it belonged to the contract city of Oakley when we were still contracted by the sheriff's office. So we had to dust off that case file, read all that was involved with that, and go arrest the suspect, only to find out he was in Idaho. Our guys had to learn how to do an extradition, and that was a little bit of an arduous process for them, but they figured it out. They went to Idaho, they arrested him, they brought him back to California. Not too long after that, we had a case, a fresh case, involving a child molest incident, and that suspect fled to Nevada. Our guys were fresh off of the Idaho extradition, so they knew exactly what to do, and they're able to get boots on the ground in Nevada themselves and bring that guy back to California within just a matter of days. So they quickly applied the lessons they had learned to their new skill sets for this Nevada case. So this is something that we're very proud of. There's an organization called the Internet Crimes Against Children, made up of several organizations. Our DA's office is heavily involved in that, as is FBI, and where it says his, that's supposed to be HSI, typo on my part, is Homeland Security Investigations, United States Secret Service, and a lot of local agencies. So we were honored to host the event last year. It's a 4-day operation. Don't really want to get into all the details for how it all plays out and works, but 11 arrests were made out of the event that we hosted. At that time, that was the highest number of arrests made in an operation of that nature. 3 of those arrests involved people who were in positions of trust. Position of trust would be a member of clergy, a teacher, a counselor, something of that nature. Last year, we established partnerships with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. When we recover weapons, guns, they will do a evidence database for us. It's a task that we can kind of pass off to them to help us enhance our investigations. We are now working with the United States Secret Service. They will help us break into our electronic devices as we recover those for criminal cases, phones, computers, that sort of thing. And we're working, we found out we had to start working with the TSA to work on our extradition. So we are signed up with them right now. So another partnership is a very fresh one. Yesterday, we put a SRO into our middle schools for the first time since Oakley PD has been a standalone PD. That officer is Garrett Wayne, and he's a previous SRO at the high school level, and he is now serving the middle schools of Delta Vista and O'Hara Park as their SRO. He does split his time between those 2 campuses. Having an SRO in our middle school allows us to bring those vital services to that segment of our student population. Just to sort of underscore the importance of that work, I pulled the statistics for our high school SRO, and our high school SRO last year made 1 juvenile arrest, made 9 mental health commitments from the actual high school during the school day, and took a total of 40 reports, of which 11 of those were battery reports. So clearly there is a need for law enforcement services in our schools. And we are proud to be involved with the middle schools again. I spoke earlier about Homeland Security investigations and what they might be able to do for us. We haven't tapped into all these things, but if we ever do have a crime of this nature, they will help us with child exploitation, cyber crimes, financial crimes, human smuggling, or human trafficking. Some certain things that we accomplished last year. We changed our badges and color scheme to help celebrate the 25th anniversary of the city. We did hire those 3 sworn officers. We hired a total of 3 recruits to go through the academy. We identified in-house instructors to teach critical and mandatory skills. So we now have Oakley officers teaching Oakley officers in the areas of defensive tactics, arrest and control, active shooter, and first aid and CPR. Sergeant Morris became our first SLI graduate. SLI is a Leadership Institute for Law Enforcement. Sergeant Morris was considered to be the top of his class, and he was invited back to become, to remain associated with SLI. So we're proud of him for that. Mentioned it earlier, but Officer Radcliffe was sworn in as a Deputy U.S. Marshal. Our Police Services Assistant, Jerkowitz, is now recognized as a subject matter expert on laws related to sex registrants. He has made a name for himself here in Contra Costa County, and he has gone away to now to Sonoma County to teach smaller agencies how to manage their sex registrants. Officers Burton and Horn are now recognized and actively participating as basic academy instructors. Lieutenant Cartwright sent our people away to 55 courses last year. We completed 18 in-house courses, and we took 175 California Peace Officer Standards and Training courses in the areas of driving, defensive tactics, use of force, CPR, first aid, firearms, and topics that are important to the Oakley PD. Enforcement trends, I've kind of already covered it, but these things, you know, they're slowing down, but only from a year-to-year level. These things remain a threat to the community and a threat to the East County area as a whole. We are still trending high in stolen vehicle arrests. We are making proactive traffic enforcement stops. We are managing traffic pursuits, although we are managing those at a lower level than we used to right now. And we are still making a fairly high number of arrests and recoveries of illegal weapons. Prop 36, I do not have enough time to go into this with the detail, but it is new for us. It is good for us. It's good for the community. It was passed by voters with an overwhelming 68% majority vote. It does add new crimes to the penal code. It is designed to fix the issues that Prop 47 left us with in 2014, which weakened laws, which led to weakened prosecution standards. So we're looking forward to working with the DA's office and other agencies to work on stronger laws and arrest standards. It implements punishment for some drug and theft-related crimes. It increases punishment for those crimes. It creates treatment-focused sentencing for some drug-related crimes. It provides an opportunity to seek murder charges against people who sell and provide illegal drugs to others when a death occurs because of that sale or transaction. Prop 36 returns some crimes back to the classification of felony that had been reclassified as misdemeanors under Prop 47. An example is theft of less than $950 if the suspect has 2 or more previous convictions for shoplifting, burglary, or carjacking can now be treated as a felony versus the misdemeanor that it's been allowed to be treated as since 2014. Prop 36 also lengthens some felony sentences. It allows for felony sentencing up to 3 years for thefts or damage of property if 3 or more people committed the crime together. That is to address the organized retail crime rings that are going on. Prop 36 does require some felonies to be served in prison. It allows for lengthened sentencing for the selling of fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, and the sentences have to be done in prison depending on the amount of drugs sold. So some challenges, again, I apologize for the typo, that's supposed to say 2025. Some challenges that lie ahead for us. Fentanyl issues. We all know the epidemic that we're in regards to fentanyl. This drug is hard to detect, and it's often masked as other drug types. We have started to internally track the number of naloxone usages we administer for 2025 and beyond. Naloxone is an aerosol-administered medicine that can reverse the overdosing effects of drugs such as fentanyl. In regards to stolen vehicle enforcement, even though the numbers have dropped, I do consider this to remain an issue for us because we still see so many arrests for these occupied stolen vehicles. These occupied stolen vehicles are committed by people that have a propensity to run from the police and to be really bad characters once the police get behind them. It's my belief that we saw a drop because of our diligent and proactive presence and enforcement on the street. And I did have a stat here somewhere on the numbers of pursuits. We did drop in our numbers of pursuits. I think we went from 57 pursuits in 2023 down to 36 last year. When a pursuit does occur, it is given a supervisor review, it is given a manager's review, and it is given an executive review at my level to make sure that the policies were adhered to and that the pursuit was done in a safe manner, safest possible manner. For sideshow mitigation, we did notice a few more sideshows in the area. None appear to be actually based in Oakley. They're happening around us. We did assist with sideshows in the area, and I just did a review of some raw material. Looks like we became engaged in 5 enforcement actions related to sideshows last year. Homeless population issues. This is an issue that our special services team monitors closely. It is believed that we have approximately 20 or less actual Oakley-based homeless residents. We do experience more transitory homeless persons during the hours of daylight. The reason why we see more homeless during the daylight hours is they're just seeking services. They're gravitating to places like Delta Scrap and Recycle. It's a source of income for them. And quite frankly, they just come in, they walk in visiting people they know, and they go back to wherever they may reside. When we do encounter an encampment, we make efforts to mitigate it quickly via a 72-hour notice that we post. Our 72-hour notice follows the tenets of Oakley Municipal Code 4.37.16, which is illegal camping. And we try not to let those things take hold, and we try to make sure that Oakley remains clean and safe for everybody. I was correct. We had 37 pursuits in 2024 versus 52 in 2023. There's naturally a lot of interest in the granular details of the total numbers of arrests made, collisions, policy compliance ratios. I don't have all the information ready right now. I can provide that down the line if desired. In regards to use of force reviews, every use of force incident receives the same level of scrutiny. It goes to the supervisor, it goes to the manager, it goes through me. We only had one use of force review in 2024 versus 6 in 2023. The review that we conducted this past year was in regards to a domestic violence incident where one of our officers deployed a taser at the suspect. The review showed that the deployment was effective and within policy. And I will just end with this. Mental health commitments. I know there's a little bit of a discussion at state levels right now. We were involved in 181 incidents last year where we actually made a mental health commitment. I do realize that these cases are complicated and time-consuming and very traumatic for the families that we serve. I don't know where this is all going to trend with new laws and new standards right now, but I do believe that police officers being involved in mental health environments is good for the families, although I do recognize we may have to make some changes in the future due to some laws that are on the books right now. And with that, I do end my presentation, and I'm open for any kind of questions.
Any questions or comments for the chief? Councilmember Fuller?
Yes, Chief, thank you. Great job. When you were sworn in as chief, I am not surprised with the results we have now, so thank you very much. I did have, in going through the calls for service, I did do the math on the priority ones, and they come out to about 6.25 a day. I didn't do the math on the priority two, but they were approximately 8 a day. Between the two is 14 a day. How is this impacting our response time?
I will gladly return to you with that because I did not pull that stat this year, but I will gladly work with our dispatch center and get that to you.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. It's great news. Thank you.
Councilmember Williams?
So this was really the first full year of the special services team doing a lot of their activities, is that correct?
This was this would be the first full year of special services and traffic being combined together under special operations, yes.
Okay, perfect. So do you think that was the biggest contributor to all those statistics being so dramatically different?
I do, especially when it came to the traffic enforcement, the citations, yes.
And are we seeing, I guess this is a tough statistic to poll, but because the tickets went up, so we're not seeing a decrease in behavior, but in the times when they're going to these places, right? Like I know all the Laurel moms will text each other, they're out there, don't go fast, you know? So are we seeing an overall sort of improvement in that behavior because of this enforcement, or do you think that stat's gonna keep rising because we just do what we do?
You know, I talked to the traffic guys either earlier this week or last week. I asked them, are you guys actually giving citations to the same people? And the answer is yes. One time there was an incident where one motorist was pulled over by one of our guys, given a citation for speeding. I believe it was on Laurel or West Cypress, I'm not sure which. It was one of those two. 5 minutes later, after leaving that stop, the motorist was pulled over by another one of our officers for speeding and given another citation. So it's going to take a while to change behavior, but I think if we keep doing what we're doing, the word will get out, and eventually the pocketbook weighs out over the desire to go fast.
All right, well, I want to say thank you for the presentation, but I actually want to thank your staff for all the work that has provided these numbers. I think the calls or the stops have increased, obviously, because of productive and proactive activity. So I just really want to thank all the men and women in the department, sworn and non-sworn, for everything that you do. And I also wanted to thank you for speaking at our opioid awareness. I know you said the 2025 challenges, one of them is going to be fentanyl. And the presentation that we had here and the impact of you speaking, it's been said that it was the best one that the county's put on. It wasn't very largely attended, but the way it went about. And I've been receiving emails from Pittsburgh and Antioch. Antioch's got one scheduled, and Pittsburgh is reaching out to the county to mirror what we did. And I think you being here was a big part of that. So I just want to thank you and for everything that you guys do.
Very nice, thank you. I cannot produce these numbers. I cannot present these numbers if there are not people in my support system, my police officers, my record supervisors, such as like Yvette Fargardo, or even our administration services director, Jerry Tejeda. We have to have the people to do the work. And so, thank you all.
Thanks, Steve. All right. With that, we are going to move on to 7.2, Oakley City Council acting as a successor agency, just our liaison reports. So do any council members have any reports? Oh, surprise, Councilmember Williams.
You guys are going to be surprised because this was such a quiet time since our last meeting. I attended the East Bay Leadership Council. We had keynote speaker Judy Woodruff from PBS News there, and she gave us a presentation on the deepening divide between parties, and all the statistics are saying that it's the greatest it has ever been since before the Civil War. So it was a very lighthearted discussion, but there were tools for how we can get to agreements across party lines. So. But that was it. Next one, there's a lot of stuff in between, so I'm going to give it light this time, you guys.
Councilmember Meadows.
Since the last meeting, I had a transplant meeting where I was reappointed to Contra Costa Transportation Authority, and that's all.
Mine is short as well. I had the Delta 6 meeting with our city manager, Antioch, Pittsburgh, Brentwood, and Oakley get together, and it was good conversations around mental health and what we can do as a group to try to combat that. And then yesterday I had a meeting with Supervisor Diane Burgess. So that is all I have to report. We will move on to 7.2B, request for future agenda. Any requests? All right, we are moving right along. So we will go to item 8.1, which is the continuation from January 14th, Cedarwood Estate Preliminary General Plan Amendment work session to discuss the merits of a potential project to amend general plan use designation of approximately 14.41 acre parcel. Mr. Gorman.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. It's really an honor to present to you tonight. I'm Evan Gorman. I'm Associate Planner for your city, and it's a nice challenge to follow Chief Beard. He's a great presenter, so I'll do my best tonight. We are looking at Cedarwood Estates Preliminary General Plan Amendment. First, I always like to start with the lay of the land. Tonight we're in the southwest corner of town, there where the star is. Let's get you a closer view. This is the vicinity map, and we have Live Oak there along this, the bottom of the highlighted project area, so you know what we're talking about tonight. Next, let's give you an even better idea. The project site is made up of 3 parcels, and a private road called Knox Lane runs through it right there. Here's the project site, but with the zones overlaid over the parcels. And so we have denser housing, smaller lots to the top of the image there in yellow. And then it transitions to 12,000 square foot minimum lot for the project site. And then 15,000 square foot minimum lots there at the bottom of the image. So it's a transition area. All right, and now for tonight's work session request. First, what is a work session? So the council, you'll be very familiar with this process, but just for the benefit of the folks in here who might be new to it, preliminary general plan amendments, the process of changing the general plan designation, it's a very expensive process. You can't do it halfway. The city's gonna ask for all kinds of studies, and the fee associated with the review of those studies. We'll take a look at everything from the area, where are the storm drains at, to how many miles on average is each home driving, to what the houses look like. Because that's an intensive process, and at the end of it, you could get to council and be denied, we have set up this process called a preliminary general plan amendment. That's where we take a small fee that just covers the cost of a public hearing, like getting the notices out to residents within 500 feet. We bring the concept of changing it to you and to the public for feedback for the applicant. And so we haven't done a full review for this project, so I will be happy to answer questions on density, but it is easier to stump your staff on this one because our job was to bring it to you quickly and get your feedback on it. Now, what is that request from this applicant? This item is a request to discuss the merits of a potential project to amend the general plan land use designation on the project site from residential very low, RV, to residential low/medium, RLM, for the purposes of applying for the entitlements to subdivide the property for residential development. There on the bottom left, you have the existing designation. The project site is outlined in red, and then next to that is the proposed, and again, the properties are outlined in red. We do ask that even though we're not going to review a plan in detail, we're looking at the numbers and the changes in density. We do ask for a conceptual plan to present to the public and the council as a way to visualize what it would look like. And so Discovery Builders, the applicant, has presented this conceptual plan here. This conceptual plan shows 60 lots ranging in size from roughly 6,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet. We don't just take it to the council. Before that, we take it to the Planning Commission for the same opportunity for feedback. We also notice the public for that meeting as well. On October 1st, 2024, the Planning Commission held a work session to review this application, hear public testimony, and hear from the applicant. Following review of the materials, the commission questioned whether the community would benefit from increasing density in this area. One commissioner suggested the developer explore state ADU laws for added value at the original housing density, and 3 neighboring property owners opposed the proposal during public comment. For staff's assessment, we're just looking at the numbers tonight. A change to RLM as proposed would allow for a maximum gross density of 5.5 dwelling units per acre, potentially accommodating up to 80 dwelling units. There is a table there, and so we have the top row is what it is now, and so that has a maximum of 34 units. There's a designation in between the two we're talking about tonight that allows a maximum of 55 units, and then the proposed is that yellow, the bottom row of the table, with the maximum of 80 units, and tonight the applicant's conceptual plan has 60 units. All right, for what staff is asking tonight, this is an advisory hearing only. There is no process to approve a project through this work session. The City Council is requested to provide feedback to the applicant on the preliminary general plan amendment. Examples of such feedback may include, but not limited to, comments on the preliminary land use designation proposed, thoughts on the conceptual plan attached to the staff report, and whether there is interest in considering an application for the requested project. And just to put a finer point on it, for the public here, we're looking for feedback from the public and from council that is helpful for the applicant to decide their next steps. And I'm just going to check for one more slide here. Thanks for your patience. All right. We have, I have the applicant here who can, Lewis Parsons with Discovery Builders, who can answer your questions on their proposed project here. They had 5 slides that they sent to me that I don't see up there. I apologize, Lewis. But I'll have them come up here and I'll see if I'm able to get those slides up. I appreciate it.
It's probably okay. It's probably okay. Covered everything. Thank you. Hi, my name is Louis Parsons. I really appreciate the opportunity for this work session. I did have some slides, but looking at Evan's information, it pretty much covers everything that I had presented. I did want to point out that currently the density that we have on the site allows for approximately a little over 2 units per acre. And sort of the reason we're here is we've been doing just a lot of market research, what we're doing and how to utilize and plausibly build this project. And we just keep looking at whether or not it would be feasible from a development standpoint to build and sell a product at that density. We've seen a lot of changes in our marketplace, and we're just seeing realistically, for affordability issues and a whole lot of issues, what can be built in this marketplace. We do, so what we did when we looked at this, we said, okay, well, we're struggling making this make sense from a viability standpoint. If we go out there and build a project at 2 units an acre, are we able to get, what type of house are we going to build? We'd probably build a 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square foot house. Is that viable in this marketplace? Oh, here we go. So that's what we looked at. Okay. So then we're just looking at the data. We see that more and more people are looking for a 2,000 to 3,000 square foot home. There's most national home builders are building smaller homes, and right now the median floor area for newly started homes has fallen to a decade low. We're seeing this in John Burns reports, Smith and Associates reports. What's realistic with the market? So when we looked at our site, we know it's an R12 zoning. We said, okay, well, let's look at the density to the north, to the east, and let's look at doing something that matches that. And so just conceptually, what we did is we came up with a land plan that when you calculate the gross density here to what's to the north and to the east, it's similar density. Even though that's P1, we could come up with a P1. We do understand, though, that to the west, that is lower density. We understand that there's 4 parcels on Knox Lane that are of that lower density. So we're just here to hear feedback from you, feedback from the community of possibly increasing the density. Where we're at on this is from our planning standpoint is we just don't see right now and realistically for the foreseeable future how we would move forward with these 2 unit per acre projects with these large homes. And so we're just here to hear any feedback you have. Again, our proposed density that we went to match what's to the north and to the east is 3.8 to 5 units per acre. We were, when we mapped it, we were at that lower end of it. So we mapped preliminarily 60 units, and I appreciate the feedback. And I'm here to answer any questions, and thank you very much.
All right, great, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and let the public do their comments,
Sure.
and then if we have any questions, we'll bring you back up. All right. Councilmember Fuller, we're going to hear the public first, and then we'll do council. Since it's just a work session, we're going to go ahead and let the public speak. We do have some written comments on this that will be entered in the public record, but there was one that did not state whether they wanted to speak or not. So Carol Page, is Carol Page here? All right. We will move on to Jason and Rachel Page. They marked that they did not want to speak. Sorry, Stacy Gibbons.
Hi, I'm Stacy. Live on Chicory Drive, and I just wanted to go ahead and say that the rezoning on for the rezoning for Cedar Estate property from low density to low medium density in our neighborhood would have a significant negative impact, particularly in the terms of increased traffic and congestion. Our neighborhood was designed to be a low-density, quiet residential neighborhood with limited infrastructure. Beyond the traffic concerns, the proposed rezoning does not align with the character and design of our neighborhood. The surrounding properties maintain a consistent low-density zoning, which ensures harmonious and spacious and conducive to the community that we have right now. Introducing a low, medium-density development would be out of place and disrupting to the aesthetics and the balance we have worked hard to maintain, particularly around Knox Lane and Live Oak. It would also set a precedence for future rezoning, gradually eroding the very nature of our neighborhood. Put simply, we moved here to enjoy a quiet, low-density residential area, and we do not want to see that component changed, and that benefits the few at the expense of the broad community in our area. I urge the Planning Commission and Council to keep the current low-density zoning and within the Cedarwood properties and the Sino construction area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mohammed?
Hi, gentlemen. I live on Live Oak, 4110 Live Oak Avenue. It's the corner lot of Live Oak and Knox Lane. I purchased this property around 20 years ago, keeping in mind that I will live in a peace and low density, like a country setting. And now, since last 2-3 years, they come up, every time they come up with a more unit. I don't know what, first time they came up with a 34 unit, and then there were 38 unit, and then 54 unit, now 60. And if we don't approve it today, next year they're gonna come up with a 60 unit, 80 or 90 unit, you know. And whenever we look at the map, usually transaction go from little, middle, and then large. And in the north, the lots are bigger than what they are proposing right now, in the north, across the street. And the east, the lots are bigger. But if we have a low density where we live, and those are like two houses per acre, and on the east side of, if the lots are like a 5 unit per acre, so we cannot go with the same ratio. It has to be like a transaction. We are realistic, and we want like a transaction between medium density, not the low density. So low, medium, and then we have a very low density, you know. And I know builder, they want to make more money, they want to make more units, but I am in a construction, and I have done business, and the bigger houses are selling. I always want to choose quality over quantity. And I am very sure, I can assure them, they'll make more money if they go with a low density. They will make more money. I don't know why, and I know the city interest is also for more revenue. We understand that. But we deserve a better neighborhood. We purchased this property, we moved this property, keeping in mind that it's gonna stay that way. But going from low density to, from two unit per acre to 4, 5, 6 unit, that's too much. And that's all we can say, that we do not like to approve that. And I know the city is supposed to work for the residents, existing residents, not the new one. We have a,
The time is up.
okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Robert Fieros?
Hi there, Robert Fieros. I live on 2401 Knox Lane, and I oppose this density that the builder is proposing here. I like the low, which is 34 homes to approximately maybe 15 acres, which comes out to 30, 34 is what they proposed the last time. We've gone through this for several councils. You know, we've had several meetings with the builder, with the city councils, and they have always gone to the low. We've moved here in 2020. We've gone through the planning commissions, and the planning commission said this is going to be no big impact with the city. If they went, you know, on the lower end, it's more beneficial. They sell homes. They sold the last ones on the end of Neroli there, and they had no problem. They sold those for 1.2 million and more. They sold them quick. So there is no reason to double it unless, you know, like they said affordable homes. But what's affordable to them? Those homes that they're talking about will probably go for 800 to 700,000, maybe more. So if they sell them at the proposed 34 homes, 1.2 million, the city's going to get about the same amount of money, and so it's not going to really benefit the people. It's going to benefit them on their budget, on their projected profits. So I reject this proposal. I mean, we've gone through several different mayors. We've gone through several different managers. I mean, Josh McMurray, he's the newest. We've gone through Montgomery, you know, Frazier, all, you know, I could name a bunch of them that we've gone through meetings, and they have stayed with the 34. So I propose the city stays with the community and projects this project as the 34, the low density, because then we got, like they said, we got to go through a whole new plan and reassess everything. So we're exactly reinventing the wheel again. That's all I got to say. So I hope you guys take in mind, you know, what the residents would like. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Michael Fieros?
Hello, my name is Michael Fieros. I also reside at 2401 Knox Lane, right across from the proposed Cedarwood Estates. I just want to say that I'm opposed to any changes to the general plan. I've lived here since I was 9, back in 2000, so we've been going through this for a while. But I've grown up in the city of Oakley, and I've seen the city develop from, you know, a quiet small town with rural beginnings to what it is today. I feel that more houses and increased traffic isn't what the city needs. It would get rid of that quiet small town charm that the city has and would just create more urban sprawl that I don't believe the city needs. So I would request that you deny any of the developer's petition to amend the general plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll go ahead and Julie?
Hi, Good evening. We'll just keep it all in the family here. I live at 2401 Knox Lane as well, directly across the street from the proposed Cedarwood Estates. We bought this home 25 years ago. It's our forever home. We plan on aging in place in this home. So therefore, I'm very concerned over this request for higher density because I'm the one that's going to have to live with this across the street from me. This has been in the works, like we said, since 2007. It was originally an almond orchard when we moved there. Then it was rezoned to low density, and now they're requesting higher density. Their tentative map expired, so now they're coming back for more, practically doubling the amount of homes that they want to put there. There is a market for larger lot homes. Some people do want some breathing room when they can move out here to Oakley. They want to be able to garden and take care of their yards. And I also feel that you're going to set a precedent for approval of this general plan amendment, though every developer is going to come in and want to change the general plan to their liking. The Planning Commission just heard a similar request last week on Mercedes Lane. And the Planning Commission, when they heard this proposal, stated that they did not see a particular community benefit from increasing the density in this area, and therefore I'm requesting the council take the advice of their own planning commission and deny any general plan amendment change. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael Tays?
Good evening. My name is Michael Tays. I live at 2123 Michelle Lane. I'm totally opposed to this subdivision they want to do for the reason for the density, what they're doing in the area right there. We had a petition going back in, well, we deal with Discovery Builders in 2007 when they first proposed this. We had a petition going, and they went with the lower density on it of 34 homes. Now all of a sudden they want to increase it to 60 and possibly even 80 homes. One of the reasons also is on Michelle Lane. Right now, the way it's going to go from Michelle Lane down to, I believe it's Cherry Court. It's a total of 17 homes that are going to be put on about 2.5 acres of property right there. We're increasing the, 17 homes on Chicory or Michelle. Everybody's going to have 2 to 3 cars crossing through there 2 to 3 times a day. It's a lot of traffic, and then coming out on Live Oak. So that's the main reason right there. I mean, Discovery Builders sold me the house in 2001. And before, they told me there'd never be any homes in front of our house facing our way, and now they changed their mind. But in 2009, when they approved this here, Jackie Sino, which was a developer back then, she signed. She said, "Okay, we're going to go ahead and take the wall down, re-put it up, do the flag louts we want to do, so the center block wall is going to go back up." Now all of a sudden they want to change it again, have the homes facing Michelle, which that wasn't part of the agreement. So twice they told us that. When they built the Monarch Estates, that wall was proposed to them, and that was part of the agreement with Monarch Estates. Put the wall right there, and the 650 feet going north and south in Connie also. But I'm totally opposed to this here. They built the subdivision on Quail Glen also. I believe that's the name of the estate right there, and they're like 15,000 square foot lots there, and they sold all them. Over on the Rowley Estate, on the Rowley Road in Live Oak, Discovery Builders, which was Jackie Sino also, that was her development. I believe those homes were $1.2 million, and there was no problem selling the homes right there. So I don't understand what they want to do, why they want to change it. They've got a perfectly good plan right there, which was approved already. Keep the 34 homes, that's what I say. I hope you take into consideration what the residents have on this here. We had some signatures going by, which the gentleman's going to propose to you. There's over 60 names on there. We just kind of hit and miss the neighborhoods right there. Maybe you take that into consideration, what we want, the people of the city of Oakley. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Frank, and I can't, Thibault? Sorry.
Hi, my name is Frank Toronto. I live at 4164 Cherry Court. The reason I came to this meeting was just to give my point of view. I don't live within the 500 feet of the wall or the property. I live in Cherry Court, Cherry Court, which is right outside Chicory Drive. That's going to be the main road where all of these cars come in through. We have a beautiful neighborhood where kids play in the street. My daughter learned to ride her bike there. And I just don't see how this benefits what we already have. I understand that there's development needed and growth is inevitable. And that's why I'm asking you guys to go back to the 34 homes. Thank you.
Thank you. And Barry Clyde?
Council members and planning staff and clerks. My name is Barry Clyde. I live at 14 Connie Court. I recently retired after a 48-year career in residential sales, land development, and construction. So I'm pretty familiar with the whole process. I want to talk about the importance of the general plan. We all know that a lot of work, time, study, hours and hours goes into creating a general plan. Certainly they are updated, they are amended due to growth, but it's a very important document. I know in my residential sales career, if I ever sold a piece of property or had a client interested in a home that had an open land nearby, I always went to the general plan to see what they could reasonably expect that property to be developed into. In my own development career and in representing other developers, we did the same thing. We always start with a general plan so that we can find out what we could reasonably expect to develop the property into it. How many units could we get? I'm sure this is the same process that the applicant has gone through. What I don't understand is how, I know the applicant has probably owned the property for 8 or 10 or 15 years, but they had that general plan with the R12 zoning, excuse me. And I'm sure they went through that whole process to see how many units they could reasonably expect to get. I don't understand how they can come back now and ask to basically have an increase of 100% over what the general plan says. It's far too much. Several of the neighbors have gotten together and we have gone out and spoken with a lot of people in the neighborhood. And I have here, I'd like to submit, if I may, this is a petition from 69 homeowners in the area that are against this rezoning. And I'd like to submit this, if I may. Lastly, I think if the planning department and the council members do see fit to approve this increase, I think that you'd be derelict in your duties in representing the existing homeowners. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna, excuse me, no applause, thank you. Want to make sure everyone's comfortable in the room. We are finished with public comment, so I'm going to bring it back to the council for questions or discussion. Councilmember Williams.
Okay, I have a couple questions, probably a mix of everybody. So on this map that we have right here, you can see where, forgive me because there's no street names, so where the existing very low is, there's that strip of homes that are the residential low medium. When were all of those put in? And can we also see the overhead of the property again? Sorry.
Like this?
Yep.
I'm embarrassed because I know there's residents of the homes here. I don't recall the exact, I just remember ever since I've moved here, I've been there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm
good.
assuming they went through, was that originally, it was an almond field where Knox Lane was, one of the residents told us. Maybe nobody else in the room knows that. I know somebody who knows that. Aaron, was this an almonds field? Okay, and so was everything, does anybody know if everything was sort of zoned that ag and then just that strip got redone as that part of it sold off? Sorry, I didn't prep you. I didn't send ahead of time.
No, totally valid
Yeah.
questions, and I apologize. I don't know the history of the general plan designations over the decades here.
Okay. And then I'm going to let you off the hook for a minute. One of the, I think everybody in the room knows my question always is about affordability. And I'm going to guess that what that gentleman said was correct, right? If the zoning stays how it is, we're probably going to be 1.2, 1.4. If we increase the zoning, they're probably going to be 7 to 8. I'm sure you guys haven't penciled out, but just knowing what those typical things go to, is that sort of what you believe will be the start?
Yeah, that's that's roughly correct. Where there was a reference to another project, the ranchettes at Rowley, and that project from a I guess from a there has been some units that have sold there, but there's standing inventory. There's a house that's been for sale for almost a year. There, and there's units that have not even commenced construction on, and so, I'm not gonna, what we're looking at is when you're mapping, 2 units per acre, and the type of house that is appropriate for that is a very large house, and I'm not saying that that's not there's not a market for that. We just don't see, based on a whole host of reasons, how we could make sense of that right now, given so many constraints. And so, we're here just to hear, feedback. We hear all the neighbors. I'm certainly, before we make any sort of formal submittal, we'll be meeting with them. We've heard the feedback from the Planning Commission. We're just looking at this from a, how do we move forward with something that we can actually get some absorption and some sales. And you're absolutely correct. If you were reducing the density, you're in, and having these large lots, that just immediately equates to a much higher price point. And so when you increase the density, and there's other things too, there's other, and it was mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting, and we're not, looking to go there, but there's other things where you're on a large lot, you can, do the lot splits and things like that. And we're just being upfront going, look, here's a concept. Here's something that we'd like to get feedback from. We have looked at the properties to the north. We have looked at the properties to the east. What type of density do those have? What is in the marketplace that we feel is viable? We're building projects. We have multiple projects coming online. We're under construction. And we just, from our business perspective, building, mapping and trying to, in this marketplace, build these homes at 2 units an acre are just extraordinarily challenging.
So I kind of have a follow-up question, because for me to do, to think about a density change, it needs to have enormous community benefit, right? So we're not going to have homes that anybody in Oakley can afford, sorry, but our median income does not support even the 700, 800,000. So they're going to be people coming from outside, fine. So what's the benefit for the existing residents? I mean, I know city doesn't control school districts, but all these kids go to Antioch schools. So we're doubling the amount of kids who are going to have to leave Oakley and go to Antioch schools. Obviously, the parents make that conscious choice when they purchase the home. We can't dictate any of that, but what's the benefit? I mean, there are no sidewalks here. What are the benefits for the existing community, since we are going to be bringing in a bunch of outside people? Like, what kind of benefits are you suggesting for those existing residents that would make something like this palatable, feasible for them?
Yeah, and I haven't had those discussions, obviously, with city staff, nor have I had the discussions with any of you who are the decision makers. But understanding that modifying a land use is a discretionary act, which is solely at the discretion of the council, that'd be absolutely something that if that was in order to get some sort of support for increasing the density, we need to negotiate a set of community benefits. That's something that we can obviously do. We would probably do that through a form of an agreement, some sort of like a development agreement or that nature, through an entitlement, a negotiated entitlement process. And so that's sort of the feedback I'm looking for. Is it, well, if there is to be a support of a density increase, we're going to need to see some important benefits for the city and the community. And then it would go, okay, well, what are those? What are those needs? And so, or is it just, nope, there's a full foreclosure on increasing the density. And my response to that is understand. I don't know in this marketplace for now or the foreseeable future if we could do anything with this land. And so that's why I appreciate this venue and actually appreciate this process to hear this feedback and start. But yeah, we would most certainly engage in those discussions and provide benefits, hear from the community through a separate meeting, and also staff of what could be realized and achievable through a entitlement process.
I think I'm kind of done with my questions for now.
Councilmember Williams, I was going to lose sleep tonight if we didn't at least get you a partial answer, especially with respect to the homeowners in the room tonight. We have the parcels created in 2002 and the homes constructed just north of these parcels in 2004 and 2005.
Councilmember Fuller?
Yes. What is the land being used for now? Is it fallow? Is it agriculture? Is it productive in any manner?
No, it's not. It's just, it's not being, there's a couple units out there where there's tenants, but there's no agriculture activity at all.
Okay, well, I'm looking at my chart, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4 agricultural, what I would call commercial agricultural plots, and possibly 6, although I can't say for sure. I'm curious, is it fallow because that's the way the owner wants to keep it fallow, or is it fallow because it could not be put to agricultural use?
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about the 3 parcels we own?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're not in that business. We just are sort of land managing it, so it is fallow. Yes, I'm sure there's other opportunities for alternative uses of the land, but our intention is to manage the property until we can figure out a viable development plan.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Meadows?
What is the average square foot of the lots to the north and the east? And then what is the average square foot of the proposed project?
I recall them being comparable. So we have between 6,000 square feet and 10,000 square feet on the proposed project. And I don't recall the exact numbers, but I remember them being comparable.
Thank you. Just kind of a point on the schools is there's K-12 Orchard Park to the north on Live Oak. So, thank you.
Any other comments? So I have some, I guess. Looking at this, when you said that you're going to have some community meetings, potentially what the community benefit could be, I really want to encourage that. The residents that do live there, especially with those 4 houses on Knox, those are going to really be right out, their front window. So I'm wondering if that can be a conversation that you have with them potentially on those 4. And also what a community benefit could look like if something can be put in those 4 opposed to 4 homes that the rest of the neighborhood can use. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but obviously have those conversations. I do think the surrounding neighborhood is very comparable to what you're asking for. I've been driving by and just kind of taking a look at it. So I think that if a conversation can be had with the neighbors, maybe something can be discussed, and then also with city staff for that community benefit part. I think that with the lot sizes that you're looking at, I get that it's only slightly above at the 60. But I have had some residents reach out to me saying, well, what if you change it and then it's going to be 80? So I want the staff to bring back, if this does come back, kind of a mix, and we've done it before, we've had these conversations where we can cap it at that if that's what they're going to be asking for. So if that is the case, we would say that if they get the change, then they can't come in with a plan for 80 units. So I would ask the staff to kind of have something together for that. I would ask the applicant to have the conversations with the residents, knowing, obviously, you heard them tonight, no is what they want the answer to be, but let's see if there can be some conversations. Let's make sure we're including them in those conversations, and that would be my direction. All right, anyone else?
Discussion?
Yes, please, discussion. Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, I'm inclined not to alter the plan. I don't know, I wasn't here when the general plan was put together, but from the look of it, the intent was to keep this an agricultural area. I'm seeing productive, just within the diagram, I'm seeing commercial agriculture in here and driving the area. I've seen evidence of commercial agriculture, productive commercial agriculture is still operational. I think when people bought here that they were that they were informed that this would be kind of a spread out area for what they enjoyed. And I'm looking at what's happened in it. I don't know how the houses were in higher density. If they were originally in the general plan, from what I understand, they were not. The general plan was altered and the homes were put in there, and it's creeping in on some of the other residents. So at this point, I'm inclined not to change the zoning or the density or any of the other factors there that exist. If they want to look at a use of the land for agriculture, that's fine. I believe they already could be used for agriculture use or some other type of extent. But I'm convinced from what I've heard, and the people here are not the only ones. There were about an equal number of people here the first session that we said we'd take into account who spoke about this item. So the people, I'd be a little bit sensitive too if I bought into the area and suddenly everybody's just taking it a while. So I would be opposed to it.
And I just wanted to remind everyone in the audience, obviously, we're not making any decisions tonight. This is just a conversation that we're having, giving everyone the opportunity to speak. If it does come back to us, you have an opportunity to do that again. Like Councilmember Fuller mentioned, we did have some speak out during our January 14th meeting when it was continued, and we did get record of that. So those comments have also been provided for us. And just wanted it to be a reminder that this is just a conversation to see what the appetite is. So, Councilmember Williams.
I mean, listen, I think there is a certain sort of blending that happens with the homes next door, right? But without having a ton of confidence in when that happened and what the expectation was from the residents who already lived there, I think I would be super hypocritical. I tell people all the time, well, I mean, when you see an empty lot next door to where you're purchasing, you should check to see what it's zoned for. And it sounds like these folks did. And they kind of had the expectation that this was what it was going to stay with. And, I know I'm the person who talks about we need housing, we need housing. I just think it doesn't always need to be at the expense of the current residents. And the fact of the matter is that even with the higher density, these homes aren't going to our current median income folks here. So we're not even benefiting our residents in that. So to me, it's not, the juice isn't really worth the squeeze, and it does cause sort of a slippery slope, right? I mean, we just approved a gas station today that was an erosion of our plan. And as things change, that stuff is bound to happen. I just have some concerns with this because this just doesn't seem like it's giving enough community benefit. And again, you haven't come up with any community benefit, so I'm not gonna fault you on that. This is just a work session. But I think there would have to be an extraordinary benefit to the current residents for them to want to get behind it. And, I do think it is a little bit our duty to listen to the residents who are there, right? Like there is a general plan. It's not like in some other circumstances where we're making some changes that are not a zoning amendment. And I just think that there was a certain expectation when a lot of these folks bought, and I think we need to honor that, because I'm the first one to tell people, when you have an empty lot, you should have checked. And it sounds like people did check. And I think that's not necessarily fair to us. That being said, if you guys did want to continue this forward, I would absolutely support what Mayor Shaw said. Like, there has to be a ton of discussion with the neighborhood about what they want to do. There has to be limits. But there has to be some extraordinary benefit to make this worthwhile. And just knowing how those streets are, I can't see where the extraordinary benefit could even come from without carving out a ton of things. I mean, those streets are tight. The kids are outside playing. This is a tough sell for me, for sure. So that's just my point of view on it.
Councilmember Meadows.
I also concur with Mayor Shaw's comments. And farming was brought up. This whole area at one point was almonds. That was decades ago. What are you laughing at? Almonds or almonds? It was almonds. And so, it was. And there, you see grapes in the pictures. I mentioned it up here before. I mentioned it when we were talking about, allowing wineries and wine tasting facilities. Grape industry is in major, major trouble. People aren't drinking wine, but anything like they used to. And one of the vineyards I see in this picture, I haven't talked to the farmer, but somebody was talking to me and had conversations with their employees, and they may start pulling vineyards. And they're pulling them because there's no reason to farm if you can't sell your product. I have a vineyard in the area that I lease, and I have had a difficult time selling those grapes for the last 5 years. And the only reason I lease it, so I'm not gonna go pull it. But over the last 2 years, I've contemplated stopping farming. And it'll sit, or you'll have to find somebody else. So it's a very difficult industry. There's no farming that's going on this property. It's sand. Grapes will grow in it. I don't know if there's irrigation water to it. If there's not, nothing's going to happen. So you can't look at this parcel for farming. I just want to make that clear. It's farming is dead.
Yeah, and one last statement is, one of the comments was about, kind of just like no new development. And I know we're just talking about this neighborhood, but, with a small town feel and everything, we have requirements from the state on certain things. And so we have to analyze every single thing that comes before us. And when I bought my house in 2009, it was built in 2006, we didn't have neighbors behind us. And now we do, and my kids and their kids are best friends. And so it's just, I'm not trying to convince you, I'm just saying, like, I thought forever I was gonna have nothing behind me, and now I have Emerson Ranch and Delaney Park, and it just keeps growing. But I didn't check that when I bought. I also didn't check the taxes, but sore subject. But yeah, so we are required to do some things, and zoning is important, but we have to provide housing, and my children are of the age that they are starting to buy homes here, and someday all of yours and our grandkids and everything else. So there is a supply and demand situation where we love Oakley, and while we want it to stay what it is, I kind of want everyone else to love Oakley too, and without having housing, we won't have that opportunity. Just was a comment, I don't know why it popped in my head, but I felt the need to say it. Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, I don't know about this particular plot, and I don't know about farming necessarily in Oakley, but I'm not ready to say farming is dead. We're probably in the Delta, the biggest rice producers I understand in the world. If you go down the San Joaquin Valley, we have some of the biggest agriculture in the area, and I believe agricultural products are #1 production within the state. So, but like I said, I don't know this plot, but it still goes back to the people that have lived there for a period of time, and I just believe we ought to keep it like it is. So, thank you.
Talking about farming, at one point, probably within the last 6 months, there were 75,000 acres in the state of California at least for sale in almonds or almonds. And a year ago, at the wine symposium in Sacramento, talking to the grape brokers, I mean, we needed to pull an additional 50 to 60,000 acres of grapes out of the state. That was the oversupply in the state of California, 50 to 60,000 acres. So we don't expect grapes here.
All right. Well, with that, thank you for coming, all the residents. We are going to move on to 9. We have no closed session, so our next meeting will be on Tuesday, February 25th at 6:30 p.m. here in City Hall. And with that, our meeting is adjourned.